Hi friends, it's Lexie. I'm so happy that you are here. If you are new to my channel, I am a 3rd grade teacher in Georgia, and today my video, well, it might pan over a few days. I don't really know, but anyways, I'm going to be teaching you about elapsed time. Elapsed time in Georgia, a 3rd grade standard, we are required to teach our kids in 3 different ways. How to determine the start time, how to determine the end time, and how to determine how much time has passed in between. So what I'm about to do is I'm going to make an anchor chart that I'm going to use with my students, and then I'm going to instruct you guys on how, or not instruct, but to show you how I teach it to my kids. Now, I do know that there are a few different strategies to use this, but for me personally, when I teach my kids, we use like a number line to construct the time. I know that there's the Z model, but when we get into minutes, it does get a little more difficult for my students. So I find the way that I'm going to show you guys has been the most successful. So if you're interested in learning, just keep watching. Friends, I'm so sorry. Yesterday got very busy. I didn't get the chance to finish showing you guys my anchor chart that I made for elapsed time, but now that I have it hung up, I'm about to show you and I'm going to explain to you how I set it up and its purpose. So this was the final piece. Looks like a lot, but I always ask my kids when they read an elapsed time problem, I always ask them, what do I know for sure? Like, based off of what they read, what can you tell that you most definitely know so that you can then work out the problem, okay? So one way that we teach it is by missing end time. So for instance, Miss Welch went to PetSmart at 5:25 p.m. She was there for 2 hours and 15 minutes. What time did she leave? Okay, so I say, all right friends, so what do we know for sure about this? Well, we know for sure that she went at 5:25. So would that be our start time or our end time? That would be your start time. So that's why you would put it here. But then we know that she was there for 2 hours and 15 minutes. Well, is 2 hours and 15 minutes our end time? No. So that's how much time she was there, because then it says, what time did she leave? All right, so then we put a question mark, and I always have my kids put an S and an E for their start and end time, and then the time that's in between is what they put here. So, next step for students is to create their number line. You always want to start with your start time if you have it. So our start time was 5:25. That's where this came from. Okay? So then we're trying to get to our end time. We don't know what it is, but we know we need to go 2 hours and 15 minutes. So, I always tell my kids, because some of them do get confused when just adding the 15 minutes and whatnot, so I have them break it apart. 15 minutes, and students normally can jump either hours or minutes first. I usually let them choose, but 15 minutes is split into, you can kind of see it, the 10 and the 5, okay? So students went ahead and, or I did this, but 5 minutes, okay? So we're with our minutes, so that gets you to 5:30. So we crossed off our 5. Next is the 10. So if you jump 10 minutes, and normally I have them underline what they're working with. So like if it's minutes, I have them underline the minutes so they know that that's the only piece that changes and not the hour. Okay, so 10 minutes is 5:40. Once they cross those both off, I have them separate the 2 hours instead of just jumping 2 straight hours. I like for them to do 1 hour and 1 hour so they know for sure. So when they do this, I would normally have them underline the hour number so they know that that's the number that's changing and not the minutes, if that makes sense. So there's your 2 hours and then there's your end time. And my kids, no matter what, they always circle their end time. So that is how students determine the missing end time. Okay, so I know that can be kind of confusing, and it can be for the kids as well, but I find that my students do the best work when they have repeated practice with elapsed time. I'm about to show you missing time in between. Okay friends, so missing time in between. This is the same thing as earlier. The kids start out with their S and their E, and then I always have them read the problem first. So, Miss Welch went to a birthday party at 6:20 p.m. The party finally ended at 8:09 p.m. How long was she at the birthday party? So, what do you know for sure? A lot of them would say, well, we know for sure she went to the birthday party at 6:20. So if she went there at 6:20, would that be her start time or her end time? And they would say start time. Okay, so what else do we know? Well, we know that it ended at 8:09. All right, so that's our end time. So what are we trying to find? How long she was there. So we don't know our time that goes in between. Okay, so essentially what students are going to do is they're going to start their number line with 6:20, and they have to add up until they get to 8:09. All right, so here, I did it here so you can actually see it. But 6:20, okay? So this is considered a friendly number. Friendly numbers are numbers that end in 0, and those help us to get to our following hour or another friendly number. So I'm going to show you really quickly what I do to help my students understand how much time they need to jump to get to the next hour. Because this is at the friendly number, they could go by tens until they get to 7, but that would make it really long. So what I do, and let me see if I can set this up and show you. All right, so my students know that there are 60 minutes in an hour. So I always have them hold up 6 fingers. And this is taking some training for them, but 6 fingers, that's not just 6, but we're counting by 10. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 60 minutes, okay? In this case, it was 6:20. So 20 minutes have already passed, so we put down 2 fingers at 10 apiece. That means that they have 4 fingers left at 10, so they need to do a 40-minute jump, okay? So what that means is, if you look right here, they were at 6:20. If they do a 40-minute jump, that gets to 60, which makes another hour, or it gets to the next hour. I hope that makes sense. You might have a different way for your kids to do it by just jumping 4 10-minute jumps, but mine do it best this way because it eliminates the jumps, or the total amount of jumps, okay? So now we're at 7, but we gotta get to 8:09. So if we're at that friendly hour with 0, 0, we know we can easily jump an hour and get to 8, okay? But we gotta get to 8:09, so we need to go at 9 more minutes. Now, students are then to take these 3 numbers, and I have them write them below. Okay, so I do believe that our county allows students to just add everything up. And what I mean by that, say that wasn't an hour, say it was just 45 minutes. They could literally add 40, 45, and 9 and get a large number. But I like for my kids to take out their hour. So in this case, we did jump an hour. So our hours stay the same, but what else can we add to make this easier? Well, we can add the 40 and the 9, which is the 49 minutes. So she was at the birthday party. Last but not least is the missing start time. Now this is one of the hardest ones that I find for my students, as it requires them to count backwards. Now counting up for some of them is difficult in general. So counting back really requires them to think, especially when it goes back an hour. Here, I'll just show you, just look, okay? Miss Welch took a nap she took a nap for 3 hours and 12 minutes. If she woke up at 7:18, what time was it when she started her nap? So, again, my kids write the S and E, and I ask them, what do you know for sure? Well, we know for sure that she took an hour for 3 hours and 12 minutes. Okay, well, is that our start time or our end time? No. So what else do we know? Well, we know that she did wake up at 7:18, and then it's asking what time did she start. So we don't know her start time, but we know her end time. We also know how long she took her nap. So that's what this is. So we have our end time and our time in between, but we have to find our start time. So just like up here, in order, if you have your start time and you go to end time, you add up. But if you have your end time and you got to get to start time, it makes the most sense to subtract, okay? So I have my kids break it down 3 hours and 12 minutes, and I'll show you what this is in a second, but it's essentially them going ahead and breaking it down between hours and minutes, okay? So let's start here. 7:18, which was our start time. Okay, so out of the 12 minutes, 2 needs to be subtracted. Okay, so I would normally tell them, okay, we're in our minutes, so let's subtract 2 from 18. Okay, it would be 16. 7:16. They would cross that out. We have our 10 left. Okay, so if I subtract 10, we have 16 and we have to get to 6. So then that's 10 minutes. Now those are both crossed off, so now I just have hours. Okay, and I actually need to cross that one off. But now you just subtract hours, and you can already see where I underlined the hours, so they knew exactly that they're not working with the minutes, they're working with the hours. Okay, so 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour, and there's her start time. Now, one thing I teach my kids is when we're doing minute jumps, I call them humps, okay? You can kind of see the humps versus the mountains. The mountains are our hour jumps, and the humps are our minute jumps. And I just put this little key thing, but yes, any friendly number we call them, or any number that ends in 0, I call them friendly numbers, because a lot of the times when you do like these type problems, my kids just start to jump and they're not focusing on their friendly numbers, because when it's friendly numbers, it's going to be a lot easier for them to add. Now, I'm going to teach you 2 different strategies that I use for my students who struggle with basic addition. And when I mean that, I'm saying, okay, if I'm adding 5 minutes to 3:36, how do I know my minutes? Okay, a lot of kids have that mental math ability, but some of my kids do struggle. So if we're working with, I can't remember what I just said, but say it was like 5:36, okay, and we did a 5-minute jump. I always tell my kids, okay, so we're starting at 36, so we start 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41. So that's always one thing I do, is I have them hit their head, not hard, but just grab that number, they're putting it in their minds, and then they're counting up, okay? Another one that I do for even my kids that do have that mental math ability, but sometimes they rush and they get off task, or they're just counting wrong, I have them just simply, like if this is the table, I just simply have them go, like if you're adding 15 plus 7, like 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. It's the same concept, but some kids just prefer it different ways. So yeah, this is the elapsed time. This is how I teach it. I'm sure you maybe teach it differently. Again, I know I stated it before, I know some people use the Z model, but when you get into adding and subtracting minutes and time, it was difficult for my kids to understand that with the Z model. So I'm going to reflect one last time over this, but this is just what I use, and so far, majority of my kids have mastered this. So the ones that have not, I'm still pulling small groups, but this, I would say out of my 20 kids, like 5 or 6 have mastered this, but this is our next goal for our class. And I hope that makes the most sense. I know it can be kind of confusing, but I will try to maybe like insert a photo right here of the completed anchor chart. I did it really quickly, and I hope it makes a lot of sense to you guys. If it doesn't and you have more questions, please put them in the comments below. I would love to help you. And if you like this and you use it, also let me know down in the comments below. I hope this helped so much, and I hope you guys have an awesome week, and I will see you next time. But don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you don't miss any of my future videos. And follow me on Instagram. I'll link it right here. Bye, y'all. Hey friends, I'm sorry I am adding on to the previous clip that you just watched, but this morning I realized that I had never put up my I don't want to say task cards, but like I made some things for elapsed time for my students to use, and I finally put it up yesterday afternoon, and I just forgot about video recording. I don't know, hot mess. But I wanted to add this video on and show you guys a few of the things that I did not mention yesterday that I thought could still be put to great use. And if you're interested in the resources that I'm about to show you, let me know down in the comments below. I do have a Teachers Pay Teachers, but I have not posted these in there, and I haven't quite decided if I want to. So take a look and let me know what you think. Okay, so what I wanted to show you were these little pieces that I made for elapsed time. Now, the thing that I am wanting to use these for are for students like in the morning times, students during math, like a center, or during dismissal. I do have some students that have mastered certain pieces, and then I have some that have yet to master those pieces, and I really wanted something where students could just quickly grab, go to their seat, and start working. So that's where I came up with the idea of these. Now, all I did was I created them based off of the different areas of elapsed time. So like missing time in between, missing start time, and missing end time. So depending on where the students are struggling, I can easily tell them, hey, go grab this piece and go to your desk. Now, each of them are questions, and for their benefit, I already put the, sorry, I'm trying to do this with one hand. I already put the answers on the back. Now, this is just something that I'm going to have to teach students because I normally don't like them having answers, but you guys, I can only do so much. So put the answers on there for them to check themselves, and then if they come across one that they just don't know, they're not understanding it, they can easily ask me. But I wanted them to have the opportunity to be able to come and grab one of these pieces, which is right beside the elapsed time poster, that they can just come and grab during essentially any time of the day. And I do plan on incorporating them in other ways, but I wanted to show you guys